Welcome to Team Building Cultures, the podcast designed to deliver tools and tips for improving team communication, collaboration, and fostering a culture where teams thrive. Now, here's your host, Beverly Hathorn, owner of Strategic HR Consultants.
Hello, listeners, and thank you so much for joining another episode of Team Building Cultures. I'm your host, Beverly Hathorn, owner of Strategic HR Consultants, and today I'll be chatting with Kellie Tinnin. And I am just so excited to speak with Kellie because she's going to talk to us about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is simple rules for first-time managers that you can start using today to empower your team. We were all first-time managers at some point, so we know the challenges that you encounter in that area. So Kellie's going to help us with this today. A little bit about Kellie. Helping businesses make a measurable difference in their performance and their bottom line is Kellie's goal. Kellie owns and operates Kellie Tinnin Consulting, LLC, an organizational development consulting firm. Her background includes instructional design, as well as organizational and human resource development. Her greatest asset is creating programs that address the customer's needs in ways that are measurable to the individual employee, groups of employees, and organizations. Kellie aims to be different and unique while making a measurable impact in an organization and strives to lead projects in a fresh and innovative manner. Kellie has also contributed her expertise in learning and development to several conferences, including the 2022 Northern New Mexico Human Resources Association Conference, the 2023 SHRM New Mexico Conference, and Disrupt HR Albuquerque. That's quite an intro, Kellie. You've done a lot of really interesting things. So thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad we were able to connect and we're able to talk today.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right into it, Kellie. And, you're going to talk to us today about simple rules that first-time managers can implement today or second-level leaders can use to help their managers get started. Again, like I said, that's a topic near and dear to my heart because I struggled a bit as a first-time manager.
Sure, so. I think we all have.
Yeah. So excited to talk to you today. And some of the things you're going to talk to us about or some of the things that we'll learn today, we'll be able to compare the role of leader versus manager. You're going to give us an example to formulate action steps to grow leadership traits, and you're going to help us recognize how to unleash the potential of others. That's great. Awesome. So my first question is, what is your goal when working with an organization? What's your plans when you first get started?
I think really my big vision, my big lofty in the sky goal is to change the way that people work. People spend a lot of time working, whether we're working at home or whether we're in an office or whatever that looks like. Regardless, we're spending a lot of time in work. And I feel it's important for people to really be aligned with the work that they do. And I think when everybody's aligned and with the mission and really working towards that common goal, I mean, that wheel really turns. And so in the back of my mind, that's always my big lofty goal, so to speak. But really, meeting with any organization for the first time, it's about discovery and it's about asking questions, because oftentimes what's at the surface, this probably applies in personal life too, but what's at the surface is not really what's going on. So it's a matter of peeling that onion to find out, okay, this is the problem that we're seeing at the forefront, but it is a result of what, and finding out what that root cause is and being able to structure interventions around that root cause, really to create some sort of sustainable change.
Yeah, I can totally see that. It's kind of what you said kind of brings to mind to me like an iceberg. It's like we see the tip, but there's a whole lot going on underneath that we don't see. And that's the part that we kind of need to address and understand so that we can, provide sustainable solutions, a solution that the organization can implement and continue to keep going. So yeah, totally understand that. So tell me, where do you think most managers go wrong when they're leading their teams?
From my perspective, where I think there's a lot of things that are challenges for managers, maybe not even just new managers, is the understanding that leading people and managing processes are different. And just because you are a manager of something, you're managing outcomes. You're managing something that's tangible, so to speak, making the widgets or whatever that is. And you don't manage people, you lead people, which is a very different skill set. Although the skill sets do often overlap, they're really different. And so you're managing tasks and you're managing processes and procedures. But when it comes to people, you're really leading people to move them forward towards a goal and towards a mission.
Exactly. I've heard it said that managers manage things and leaders lead people. So when you're leading your team to complete those goals and objectives that have been set forth. Now, your team might in turn actually manage things and processes and such, but we as leaders, we want to, like you said, we want to encourage our people to perform those activities in a successful manner. So totally get what you're saying there. What do you think are some of the skills that leaders can utilize to motivate their teams to meet those goals and objectives?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things. I think first, understanding what motivates your team, and different things motivate people. And oftentimes it's kind of a combination of things. So it's kind of a marriage of different things. Some people are more motivated intrinsically or internally. So they're the ones that are going to seek out solutions, maybe seek out challenges and those sorts of things, where you have people that maybe at the forefront more motivated by rewards and competition. Now, that's not to say that we can't all be motivated by those things. You're not really one or the other. There's kind of, I think that there's kind of a blend or two with something that's more at primary or at the forefront. But really understanding what it takes to motivate people, to keep them moving towards that goal. And I think leaders can use a number of different skills and knowledge sets to do that. One of them, I think, is really being self-aware and understanding themselves enough to understand, okay, this is my skill set and where I'm strong, and where do I need to lean on my team for certain things. Like if somebody is really strong in something else, I'm maybe going to give them a little bit more leeway to help bring the team forward because they're really strong in another skill set, and having the trust in your team to do that. I think that doing things like that helps build trust, which I believe trust is really at the core of what makes teams function. So being self-aware and having that self-drive, I think as leaders in an organization, we have to have the self-drive to keep moving despite challenges. So if we're in the trench and everybody's muddy, so to speak, we have to have the motivation to basically keep bringing everybody together to say, hey, we're going to make it. We're going to do this. Let's move forward. And those are some things that are really top of mind for me. Also confidence. And as leaders, I think, even for myself, we're not always sure, but having the confidence in ourselves to understand that, hey, we're making the right decision at this time, and being confident in those decisions and what we decide.
Yeah, I've, as a leader, there have been several times that I said, well, I'm going to make an executive decision and move forward. The information that I have tells me that it's okay to move forward in this manner. And then I'll just ask for permission later, So, I also like what you said about trust. And I think that in order to trust our teams, we have to give them opportunity to show what they can do, to exhibit their skills and,
Yeah.
to flex that muscle. So I think delegating is also a good opportunity. How do you think leaders can go about deciding delegation?
A couple of things. If you have someone who is demonstrated or is demonstrating that they want the challenge, I think it's worth delegating to them to give them a little bit of a test assignment. And I think this comes into having the patience and, again, the trust to be able to let somebody make mistakes and to let them figure it out in their own way. And I think that's why people have such a hard time delegating, or managers or leaders have a hard time delegating. And I'm not perfect either. Of course, I think we all have fallen into this bucket. It's because of that lack of control. Well, they're not going to do it like I'm going to do it. Well, of course not, because they're not you. They're not going to do it like you are. But maybe they'll do it differently, which is more efficient. But you have to, in order to bring people up and to allow people to grow, you have to be able to let them practice and make mistakes. And you have to create that environment of safety, psychological safety, as we all know, to let those mistakes happen and to help, almost create that feedback loop. Like, okay, cool, this didn't work. Let's go back and try it again. And having the patience to be able to work through that. Yeah, I can get it done on my own. I can get it done faster and it'll be done, but we're not helping people move towards growth if we don't give them the chance to practice and to perfect their own skills.
I totally agree. I, as a leader, like to think that I am building or developing leaders. So to give you an opportunity to, flex that muscle, or to lead a project, or to act as a SME, or, I think those are things that help individuals become more confident. And I think it's also seen by your other team members who, especially when you give grace for mistakes, like you said, you create that culture of psychological safety and you give grace for their mistakes. It encourages others to kind of step outside their comfort zone and maybe try something. I had a leader who, she gave me a huge project and I didn't think I was ready, but she did. And I did make some mistakes, but I grew a lot. I learned a lot. It was a great development opportunity. And I did make some mistakes. And when I made those mistakes, she was right there with the safety net to catch me and say, well, that's okay. We can still do this, or, well, no, don't worry. We can, still do it this way. So it made me much more confident as I move forward in this project. I didn't have the fear of, oh my God, I'm going to mess it up. It's going to be horrible. It made me more confident, which grew my ability and encouraged me to move forward in the project. So in the end, it was great. It was one of the most powerful and encouraging projects that I've ever worked on. It was great. And that was like many years ago, like probably 10, 12 years ago. And I still applaud her for that. So I totally understand what you're saying. I'm big on creating a culture of psychological safety so that people can feel free to perform. So yeah, totally in alignment with you there. Tell me about your leadership skills. How did you hone your leadership skills? Because clearly you're really good at it. So how did you get to that?
Well, I would like to say I'm a work in progress. I mean, because I think most of us, or many of us, are lifelong learners. And so we're always learning from other people and always learning how to perfect our skills. But I have had so many great people, mentors, friends, etc., along the way that have really helped me and saw in me what I didn't or don't sometimes see in myself. So that's what's been great. A former boss of mine, for instance, who I'm still friends with today and who is a great mentor of mine, was somebody who saw in me things that I didn't see in myself and is there to shoot it to me straight, so to speak, and say, like, you're really being silly over this. You have the skills to do this. And, to tell me, she's the one who has told me, like, you got to stop being so hard on yourself. And so, like, people like that have been great. I have another friend and mentor who shoots it to me straight as well and tells me, like, you should structure this way, but has a way to do it and to give feedback in a way that's like very eloquent and very kind, if that makes sense. And so I really try to model that behavior. So I've just been really lucky and really blessed, I think, to have great people in my life that I've been able to learn from and model behavior after.
Awesome. That's exactly what I'm saying. As a leader, I like to think that I grow leaders, and you've had some leaders who grew you as a leader, who gave you the opportunity, gave you the grace to make mistakes, created an atmosphere of safety where you felt comfortable, and you came out shining on the other end. When you said something very interesting about feedback, if feedback is going to be negative and deflating and debilitating, it's not going to bring the results that feedback itself is intended to bring. So I totally agree with you on that. It's kind of interesting. Some leaders tend to micromanage because they don't have that trust there. If they would give themselves an opportunity to grow their team and delegate some of the work to their team and grow them through positive feedback or helpful feedback, then that would free that manager up to go do some other things. We sometimes forget they have other goals and objectives that have been set forth for them. And it's not always only about the people on the team. They have other, metrics they need to meet, and they have other goals that they need to meet. So I feel like delegating, when you grow your team, and then delegating will free a leader up to do some of the other work that they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about instructional design for those out there not familiar with what that is. And I see that, you've had some experience in that. So tell me about instructional design. And I particularly like what you said earlier about different people learn and respond in different ways. So what I do know about instructional design is it includes those aspects.
Yeah. So it's funny enough, I've been able to have training kind of on both sides of the coin in terms of organizational development, but also the instructional design piece, which I also found really interesting kind of as I was growing my career, which is like the course development piece and developing training programs, workshops, and those sorts of things. And instructional design I call it an art and a science, because there is really a science behind how you develop programs and trainings for people. And, there's a creative element too, but there's a lot that goes into it in terms of, from a leadership perspective, and the parallels is understanding who your people are. So just as much as a leader, you need to understand who your team is and where their strengths and challenges are. As someone who's developing training for a team, something that's going to create sustainable change, you have to understand who your people are as well, and understand what their strengths and what their challenges are, really to meet them where they're at, in order to help really scaffold the information so that they're able to learn.
I get you on that. So when you talk about meeting people where they are and knowing who your team actually is, do you have any tips for leaders to help them get to know their team? And just sometimes leaders are just this shadowy figure hovering over in the corner waiting to pounce when when something goes wrong. So do you have any tips for leaders on how they can work toward getting to know their team better, the individuals on the team?
Yeah, at the core, like I say, like, treat them like people. Like, they are people, they are human, they have lives, they have families, they have baggage, and all of the things that we all have, including, including the leaders. So making a conscious effort to get to know people. What's wrong with taking somebody on your team to coffee and just seeing what's, like, hey, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. Tell me things that are going on outside of work. Like, what's important to you? What wins do you have? Taking somebody to lunch. Something as simple sometimes as saying hello as you walk into the building or you walk out of the building. Those sorts of things really matter and make a difference. So just making that effort to get to know somebody a little bit deeper and having a sincerity in that as well.
Absolutely. I totally agree there. I've been on both sides of that coin as an employee. We once had a leader who would come into our area and he would have a football. He was a big football fan. And he would just pick out somebody and heads up, toss him the football. And when he tossed you that football, he came to your desk to talk to you, to look at the pictures that you have on pictures of your kid, or maybe you just got married and you got a wedding photo, or you got some vacation pictures, or, he would just come over and just talk to you. Say, hey, what's going on? How you doing today? What'd you have for lunch? I mean, he would just chat with you. And then he had this innate ability to remember what he talked to you about. So when he saw you a few days later in the hall, he would say, have you worn off from that vacation yet? Or how's married life treating you? Or, he would remember. So he got to know each of us on a level like you're speaking. He was really good about that.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, I've had managers who only spoke to me if they passed me in the hall or when I came in the morning. Hey, good morning. How are you? Oh, I'm great. How are you? Have a great day. And that was the end of my interaction with them. So when it came to developing my skills and my ability, they didn't know where to go. That when it came to talking to me about where I wanted to go in the organization or what else I wanted to do, there was very little conversation other than asking me. And then I'd tell them and they'd say, well, I think there's some opportunities here. I think there's some opportunities there. There was no, if they heard about an opportunity, came straight to me. Bev, I remember you were talking about da-da-da-da-da. And, they're over in accounting, they're going to be doing this, you want me to connect you? Or there was nothing like that, so I totally agree with what you're saying. Get to know your people and, their strengths and their weaknesses, as well as what drives them and their hopes and their dreams, what you'd like to do so that you can help them when it's time to do that. Yeah. Totally agree with you on that.
I totally get that. And I think it brings people from this level of like, they're here and I'm here, to more of an even playing field. And I really feel like if you want people to support your initiative and you want people to get in I use the example, get in the trench with you a lot. You get in the car, whatever it is you want. But if you want that kind of synergy, I think you have to be putting in the effort into your people. And at the end of the day, that's what we are. We're people with feelings, with families, with things, and that's how we should be treated.
Exactly. If you want that kind of synergy, to use your word, you've got to be intentional about it. You can't expect it to just poof and occur, out of nowhere. So unfortunately, I've had more managers that did not work to get to know me than I've had that did get to know me. But the ones that did get to know me have been very, very impactful in my growth and in my development. And helping me to get to a higher plane. So I'm definitely all for getting to know your people. It actually makes you more available and it makes you more relatable.
Yeah.
And for those managers who want to retain some higher level or visual higher level, because like you said, we're all people. So for those managers who, think they're higher, that's only your impression because
Yeah.
we're all people, and you actually lose people by presenting yourself in that manner. So totally agree with you on that. Yeah, so that's all great information, Kellie. So let's talk about any offers that you have for our listeners today. Any, free gifts, anything like that?
Yeah, so I actually have a class that I just launched about 2 weeks ago, and it is called Becoming a Leader, Golden Rules for First-Time Managers. And if you visit my website and click on the shop button, then you will have access to that course. And that course was really designed out of a lot of the conversation that we're having today. And I noticed in just a lot of different groups and managers that I talked to, that there was a gap for a lot of people who were leading and they really didn't know where to go to hone their skills. And so that's where this course was born out of. It's self-paced. It's 9 modules, and it talks about everything from motivating your team, leading those that used to be peers, conflict resolution, and giving feedback, and really just gives you hopefully some tangible information and tangible things that you can take away and implement right away. And with that, you also get to join a LinkedIn community so that you can share your experiences and learn from other members who have taken the course as well. And so if you visit my website, you'll be able to access the details for that class.
Wonderful. A free class, Golden Rules for New Leaders. That is an awesome, I think that would be great. And I think that not only are leaders, current leaders, but maybe people who aspire to be leaders might be interested in such. That really sounds like a wonderful opportunity. So folks, you can get that along with the ability to join a private LinkedIn community where you'll see tips and tools and discussions about being a new leader. You can get that at KellieTinnin.com. And Kellie is spelled Kellie, and Tinnin is TINNIN. So KellieTinnin.com. Go there and take advantage of that free opportunity for our listeners.
The class itself isn't free, but I do have a discount code that I will send you that all of your listeners can definitely take advantage of. I don't have that in front of me, and I should have pulled that in front of me, but I will shoot you that discount code and everybody can take advantage of that and get a break on that class. And I'd love you to join us, especially in that LinkedIn community, so we can just kind of, have that social learning experience and enrich everyone's knowledge.
Okay. All right. And Kellie, I will be sure to share that discount code in the promotion of this show when it airs. So thank you so much for that. And tell us about it. Are there any other social medias that you'd like to promote?
Yeah, so you can pretty much find me anywhere. If you go to my website, you can be connected to me on LinkedIn. I do have a YouTube channel that I just started this year, and I do many talks on YouTube about various topics in the leadership and employee engagement space. And so you can definitely take advantage of those there on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook also. So I'm a little bit of everywhere. And if you just search my name, you'll find me.
Okay, that's great. So she's easily accessible, folks. definitely we want to get in touch with Kellie and get some of those tips for new managers, which would be very, very valuable. And maybe even people who aspire to be managers might learn a little something. And definitely leaders of new managers, there's something there for you as well. So thank you so much for your time today, Kellie. I really enjoyed our chat and all the great nuggets that you dropped, particularly about, getting to know your people. Leaders, we need to get to know our people. And especially like, what you said about how to motivate people and create that culture of psychological safety so that they're able to grow and develop.
Yeah, no, this has been great. I'm so glad we were able to connect.
Yes, yes. I appreciate your time. So thank you so much all for joining me again on Team Building Cultures, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Team Building Cultures. We hope we have delivered helpful and enlightening information to help you create your dream team. Join us next time